Our guest this episode is Alison French. She's a seasoned leader at the intersection of sales, marketing, and in-person events. With over 20 years of experience, including roles as CEO, COO, and VP of marketing, she's helped companies scale revenue by turning face-to-face interactions into long-term growth. From launching marketing teams to running global trade show strategies, Alison knows how to make events work for business. Now leading her company, LTO, Lead to Opportunity, and the development of Show Scout, an AI-powered tool for B2B teams, she's focused on helping companies get more from their event investments. She's here to discuss how aligning sales and marketing on the show floor drives real results. Please welcome to the podcast, Alison French.
Welcome to the Engaging Personalities Podcast. I'm Anders Belanger, founder and CEO of Engagify, where we're on a mission to rehumanize business through engagement. We believe that we can all be more successful if we can command attention and deepen connection. So stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest on a future episode. So let's get ready to engage.
Alison,
that was so fun. I love hearing that intersection of sales and marketing. It really is my happy place.
Yeah, which is kind of like revenue department now. That's kind of a new term-ish, but
I call it chasing revenue. We're all chasing revenue ultimately. Yeah. Every person and every team and ultimately is there to help contribute to the overall growth or stability of a company. And that's revenue. Without revenue, there's no business. That's
right. I read a stat, this was years ago. I think, trying to remember who, Chet Holmes. You ever remember that? He was a writer and speaker. He passed away a number of years ago, but he made a big deal about the fact that, businesses don't make it past something like the 7th year of business. And, there's only so many that make it past. It's like a small percentage. And the reason they don't make it is a lack of revenue, which is like kind of a stupid thing. But yeah, of course we need sales. It's the lifeblood of business. And companies do a lot in order to optimize that. Right.
I agree. So I think they can do more.
Yeah. I want to hear about your take and your company LTO, Lead to Opportunity. I mean, that's sometimes it's just generating lead, but once you get them, lots of times people that's where it falls apart. They don't get it going anywhere.
So I love that you can piece that together because I have to tell most people what they're like, what is LTO? I'm like, well, I'm a marketer at heart and I wanted a short website. So how do you come up with a domain that you can tell? My theory on websites is if I can tell my dad, go to joinlto.com, it's a good website. If he can understand it, use it in his late 70s, we're good to go. And so I was trying to figure it out. And ultimately, coming from marketing into founder-led sales at my last startup, I quickly realized my whole theory on leads is complete BS. As a marketer at heart, MQLs are only so good. But if it actually doesn't become an opportunity for the sales team, it doesn't have a lot of value. And so through a lot of conversations with sales teams, talking about, marketing saying they're giving this great pipeline, but I actually don't have anything that's going to convert, it really opened my eyes to the importance of truly going from a lead to an opportunity. And then I recognize I can't actually close for people. And so that's why I focus on the lead to opportunity, because I think that's the part we can really step in and help with. And then the closing really sits in the hands of the customers.
Yes. It's an interesting gap that you found within that revenue department or the handoff of lead to, it's kind of like ML, MQL, SQL opportunity, that whole area there. But I understand that that idea that someone else has to close it because, working in the trade shows ourselves, in my company, we can generate leads. We can find quality leads. We can give them to the salespeople or the subject matter experts, but then we're done, we're hands off. So, I've had companies say, can you guarantee closes? It's like, what? Bring me in on the rest of it, I guess.
I know.
Maybe I could have some control, but we can only do so much, but let's not have that drop off from capturing the lead to, the actual opportunity side of things. Yeah.
And working them through the opportunity to the point of close, because there's so many things that we can do to support a sales organization, because ultimately headcount is expensive. So if they're chasing their biggest deals and you have some warm opportunities that might not be ready to close, what can you do to help that along? And I think there's a lot of tools and tactics that make businesses more efficient I think it's a weird hybrid. It doesn't sit in the marketing lane and it's not quite sales. Sometimes sales enablement and rev ops can do it a little bit, but it's because I am a startup junkie. I've always loved startups. You get a little more strategic because you have less to spend and you kind of skew a couple different roles. And so very quickly you learn it doesn't really matter if it's sales and it doesn't really matter if it's marketing. You just need revenue. And so I think that's been my gift of my career is having the, billion-dollar med device company background into helping startups scale and realizing it's just about using the tools that you have to make it as efficient as possible to close deals. And does it really matter where that sits? No. Like, just let's find a way to get it done.
Let's not label things.
Yeah.
It's like a complicated relationship. Let's not put a label on it, but as long as you're getting results. And so, all of this really makes me think of just this kind of quality versus quantity.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't call it a debate, or these two camps. And I speak at Exhibitor Live, which is a trade show for trade shows for people who haven't heard of it. And we kind of talk about this because, every company is going to have a different strategy. They're at a different maturation point with their, how old the company is, what they're going for. Are they the new kid on the block who just want net new leads, right? Yeah. They just want anybody. Or is it a more mature company who's just looking for enterprise level, certain, whatever that sweet spot qualifier is for this, that lead. And so, some people are just like, I only want quality. But in the strategy, sometimes just trying to get quality, it gets such a low number that they freak out. And then they go, scan everybody. They'll change their strategy
on the floor.
Mid-show. Yeah.
Because they're panicking. So my last startup I led was we were trying to productize account-based marketing for like med device, durable medical equipment. And lucky for us, I guess, it was headed into the COVID era. And so when people can't knock on doors to go have sales conversations, they were looking for new ways to have those conversations. And really, really quickly, you start to realize that the quality versus quantity discussion has like an and statement to it, because a sales rep might tell you they only want to talk to the C-suite because that's who signs the contract. Great. That is quality. I understand. But if you can't get through to the gatekeeper that's going to get you to the CEO to sign the contract and advocate for the deal all along, you're just spinning your wheels because you're never going to be able to get that quality lead at a show floor. And so I think there's a missed opportunity for a lot of teams when they're thinking about how are we focusing on leads at these shows. Ultimately, everyone wants to talk to the decision maker. I mean, that's where a lot of what I've created has come from. I'm a marketing and business junkie, and I was like, if I'm going to go out and start a new business, I'm going to do it the right way. So I started with research. I was asking salespeople and founders, what are your biggest challenges when you're going to trade shows? Number one, talking to decision makers. That is the challenge that faces everyone. Two is quality interactions at the booth. And I kind of went, I know how to fix this. Like, because I come from a world that was productizing account-based marketing, this isn't a complicated issue for me, because I know the data exists and I know the tools and the technology and how to get to it. And so it's been very interesting to me to try to educate people on, yes, you can absolutely stand at your booth and hope the right buyers show up, or you can kind of nudge them along with a few different tactics, and you can equip your team with a kind of hot list of here are the people that it's really important that you meet with when you're on the show floor to help basically tee up everybody for success. But when you're looking at that quality versus quantity, it's, okay, let's talk about the accounts. What are accounts going to be here that we want to talk to? Great. Let's break it down. Who are the points of contact at the organization that might be a door opener, that maybe you went to college with their best friend, but they're not the decision maker, but that's going to open a door that's going to help you start a conversation that might get you to the decision maker. And so I think it's that step of the research and the connecting of the dots to really help teams understand that if you go into the quality list of accounts that like they are our buyers, they match our ICP, they're using services that work are similar to us, or we are far superior to who they're currently using. Like if you are truly confident and realistic, the quality versus quantity debate to me kind of goes away because you can forecast what your lifetime value is for that type of account. And you can back into it and say, okay, I need 3 or 4, but I might need to talk to 20 people to get to that one decision maker. And so here's how I'm going to leverage the show floor to start that introduction, because that's the gift I think trade shows and conferences and exhibit halls give sales teams is it is very, very, very hard to stand out from the noise right now. But if you're going to a show, like you as a attendee are going to a show, you've got your travel plans, you know what city you're headed to, you know where you're going to go for dinner, your mind is in a place where you're thinking about that event. And so if you can time it right, Expo West just happened here in Anaheim.
I was there.
And so, oh yeah, that's right. I remember. So if you're at Expo West and you're going to Expo West, it's on your mind for probably 2 or 3 months before you're where you're going. And then the month of, for sure, it's on your radar. So reaching out to a prospect who you know will buy from you, you know they're going to Expo West, maybe they're exhibiting, maybe there was a social signal stating that they were going to be there. What a beautiful opportunity to start a conversation and just say like, hey, I saw you're headed to Anaheim, would love to catch up if you're going to be there. Most of the time they'll reply. It is shocking. From a world of cold email doesn't work and outbound doesn't work and all these other negatives, it's like trade shows are just this beautiful gift. And then maybe the person doesn't reply ahead of time, but if you know who they are, you know the company they work for, it's pretty easy to find them and make that connection during the show. And you don't even have to sell. You can just try to start the conversation. So when you get back to your desk, there's a name to face connection. You're human. You're not just someone who's emailing at me anymore. And so I think that's where my whole world came from was people want to talk to decision makers. They want to have quality interactions at the show. It's easy to do that if you have the right research. Like if you know who you're targeting, if you put that in people's hands, if you make that process a little easier. And I think this finds similar to what we were talking about, the intersection of sales and marketing. It's a little weird because in some organizations, they might not have the tools or the resources to do these tactics. They might have a marketing manager, but the marketing manager isn't a marketing technologist who knows how to pull all the levers. And so what I have set out is like with my why is, I don't know if you know Gay Hendricks' concept of like area of genius. It's like everyone's at their happiest if we're all working at our area of genius. And so I think trade shows and conferences is an area where so many people get stuck working at their level of incompetence or competence, where it's like, I'm trying my best to get it done, or I'm just barely making it work. And I think about this a lot in relationship to like the first time person going to a show. It's like, they spent their whole budget, they've got their 10 by 10, they're trying their very, very best to be successful. They might be a scientist who created a product and they're not a marketer, they're not a salesperson, they don't know exactly how to go about it. And so I'm really hopeful that with what we're creating at LTO, Show Scout is one of the tools. We have another tool in production right now, is we're really just trying to equip people with the tools that eliminate some of this friction that keeps them out of their area of genius. Because a scientist is going to do a heck of a lot better job talking about the product and explaining the research than connecting to a CRM to automate outreach after the show. Because we all know post-show like follow-up is the hardest part for everybody, but it doesn't need to be. Like, it's simple. It's with AI now, like it is so easy. We can tee it up before people even walk there. We can make it simple. We can have different sequences that deploy based on what's happening. Like that part is so easy, but it's not if that's not your area of genius. And so that's where like my personal why is just, can I keep creating tools and tech stacks and processes that help make it a little easier for people to go to a show and drive the ultimate result they're hoping for, which is revenue.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, Alison. One of them, just the most top of mind piece here is just, having the right people in the right roles.
Yeah.
Right. There's oftentimes I see, there's actually a boost staff training that I'm doing tomorrow where we're going to be talking to a bunch of engineers about how to engage. And yet that's not going to I'm broadly generalizing, but that's probably not how they're wired. Right.
Yeah.
And so, what is that? Yeah, like area of genius, like you said. There's different people have different terms for that, but what is that sweet spot where it's easy for you and you're delivering the most value, right? And it's just like that's a great spot to be. So taking that pressure off those people,
yeah,
but also going at the show to me with a strategy that takes that best of ABM, the account based, like focused, and going, if we just got a number of these, we're going to kill it, right? Because we know our numbers, we know how many of those close, all of that. And then, using those kind of calculations, I guess, to base your ROI. I think a lot of people go to a trade show with this blue sky, fresh ground kind of net new leads kind of, they don't know what's there, right? There's just, who knows what we'll get. But we'll do our best. We'll take a big swing. Well, and I make fun of that a lot because I know. So that the trade show triangle, right? Yeah. If you believe that, what's that from? Field of Dreams. Well, you believe that you're dreaming. So
I know.
So I do like the strategy. I do like the much more focused. So let's talk about Show Scout, one of the tools you have at LTO. How can we pick up what you're putting down? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And so it's so interesting. The path that this became. So I do a lot of fractional CMO, CRO work with startups or businesses who kind of have stagnated in revenue. Maybe they've been around for a while, but they've decided they want to sell. They need some growth to really kind of boost up the valuation. And so that's really where my sweet spot has been these past few years. And lo and behold, trade shows is the best way to get leads that are qualified, that generate pipeline, that end up becoming revenue. And so that was just the consistent thing I was seeing across clients was if you're in an urgent situation where you need revenue, people aren't responding to the sales team, go to a show, walk a show, go to the conference.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With a qualified list. These are your accounts. Ask them if they're going to be there. So we'd start there. And then I am a marketer at heart. I always will be. And it's I was going to say my ceiling and my basement all at once because I'll get so excited about marketing campaigns and strategy that I will over execute a campaign. And so we had this really detailed, we are going to drop emails at 2 p.m. on the second to the last day of the show. And we're going to send a text to prospects and this whole thing. And I got ghosted by the sales team. They were on the show floor. I didn't know had they met with these people or not. So we had our list that we were going into. They were supposed to be giving feedback on, I haven't met with this person. I did meet with this person. So we just paused the campaign because I'm a believer and you never step on a salesperson's toes with their prospects. Like you don't want to look like automation gone bad. So we paused the campaign and I just said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a feedback loop that we can create to give to them to say, I met this person or I didn't meet this person. And it was that simple. That's like how Show Scout came to be was you go to a show with an audience list of here are the accounts I want to talk to. Here are the prospects within those accounts that I want to talk to. And that's it. Just tell me if you met them. Tell me if you didn't meet them. And then it kept evolving. And so I finally decided, that we're onto something here. It's working well for my fractional clients. Why not productize this and take it to market? And so that's what I've been focused on because there seems, we all have badge scanners. I have nothing against a badge scanner. I think the ability to quickly capture information of a person that you're talking to is the greatest gift because it keeps you from being distracted and fuddling around with another tool or another resource. But what a badge scanner doesn't have is that pre-show planning of here's who I'm supposed to be meeting. Mm-hmm. Did I do what I said I was going to do? And so that's the part where Show Scout is really meant to help the reps is I'm calling it an in-person CRM companion because ultimately, I don't even necessarily want to be a lead capture app because that has a very different purpose. I'm trying to help them stay focused on here's who I need to talk to at this show in order to generate the best possible revenue outcome for my company. And then capture the notes, have the voice memo, be able to take photos, be able to rate the opportunity potential. Because if you can put that in their hands with a little swipe of a finger and say, wow, that was an opportunity potential of 9. Well, now I know when we do our follow-up sequences, route that one to a template that the sales rep will manually send, but it'll be a task waiting for them when they get back to their desk on Monday versus opportunity potential of a 4. they can get the nice automated sequence that we created
Yeah.
of like, wonderful to meet you. We'll be in touch.
MQL. Yeah.
And so like little things like that to, like I said, tools to help make it a little easier. And then what I'm didn't think about at the time, but what's helping leadership is leadership now has accountability measure. They just sent 5 people. They're out of office for 5 days, all the cost, all the travel. It's not just the badge scans. It's okay, you had a list of 10 accounts and 40 people within all those accounts. Who did you talk to? Did you go have the conversations? And then because we can't get it back into the CRM so easily with the tagging, which is always a problem for people, it just makes it a little easier to keep everybody accountable. And I personally have tried to walk a show floor with HubSpot, like the actual HubSpot app, and it's a hot mess. I have so many contacts. I have so many things happening.
Right.
I was trying to use a list. And so that's really where I set out to create was like, how can we just help the salespeople have a little bit more of like a laser focus?
Yeah.
And then once I realized just giving them the technology wasn't going to be enough because sometimes they don't know how to go about finding the ICP. Like I don't, well, I know I'm targeting C-suite at food manufacturers. Okay, well, how do we layer that in and reverse engineer who's going to be at Expo West? How can we look at the exhibitor list and overlay your ICP to say, of everyone that's at Expo West, I think these are people who would be interested in your product or service because of these triggers, so to speak, or distinguishing things like you're using this tech stack or whatever it may be.
So Alison, well, yeah, I think you said laser focus. Like that to me is the thing that keeps coming up again. It's not lead capture, it's lead focus.
Yeah, totally.
You know, because now you are, you know, also the feedback of you meet one of the people that you are trying to meet.
Yeah.
Like salespeople are competitive.
Yep.
They want that pat on the back.
Yep.
You know, just it's almost like, yeah, we'll gamify that sucker. Like, woohoo, all right, we're making some headway, right? And that's a lead you can get excited about, as opposed to, you know, all these marketing leads, which is just beep, 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 you know, very transactional, tit for tat, you know, they're grabbing the swag and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And the other thing about holding the salespeople accountable, I mean, you know this, it's not easy to, they're slippery salespeople typically, right? Like they will try to get out of, you know, they don't want to use the CRM, whatever, right? Like, you know, completely. You got to associate, you know, their compensation with actually doing what they need to do. So a lot of interesting things there. And I can see, you know, just again, streamlining instead of having all the leads, like you said, with your CRM, just like, what are we after here? You know, now, you brought up something. Yeah, for sure.
I was just going to say it's pre-researched.
Pre-show research. You know, and usually the pre-show, you know, people often see this trade shows pre, during, and post, right? And post is going to be the follow-up. During is going to be whatever activation, whatever booth activities, whatever thing you're having. Maybe you're having offsite parties, whatever kind of thing. And then the pre. When I think pre, automatically what comes into mind is either you're organizing your booth, but that's the internal, that's getting the during ready. But the pre is an email blast, right? That's, hey, we're going to be there, or some social media piece. But this is, you know, a little bit different of a pre getting ready. But there's something you said about Expo West where you're saying you're looking for, you know, C-level at a certain thing. Yeah. Now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a second, you're going to a trade show and you're walking the show, which is a little bit of a, you know, not gray area, but you can do both. You can have a booth and market. So that's right.
And that's been the customers that I've been working with. Are people like SaaS companies, they have a booth, their team is there working in the booth, but their customers are in the building. And so I think that's where it becomes exceedingly valuable is you don't just have to stand and wait at your booth. Like, so it's not a perfect fit for every show. And I completely recognize that. But in some industries, services, SaaS, you're exhibiting, I think of like labeling companies at Expo West, the actual labels that go on consumer packaged goods products. The brands are there. You're exhibiting, you're in a room with all the brands. Why not just take shifts and have turns going to talk to people and introducing yourself? Because the brands are certainly not going to be leaving their booth anytime soon because they are hoping that buyer is going to come by. And so is there ways to do it like that where you're equipping your team with a very laser focus, or maybe it's industry mixers that you're going to? It's, one of the things I love that we do is we're able to put people's headshots in the app. And so you're not only looking at the accounts, but you're looking at a person's photo. So I had a
Mm,
client bump into a woman on the way towards a restroom, and she knew that was her target because she had been studying and doing her research and looking at the photo. And that's where it really kind of elevates. The brand's already making the investment. You're going to the show. You paid your price. You know you're in for 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. I'm just more about like, okay, you're going to be there. How do we
yeah.
make sure you get revenue from this? Like, I think of it from that perspective.
What you had said about the picture is funny. Two things I'm thinking about this. One is, like an assassin with the dossier from this like contracted, like, like this is your target, right? But just that idea, we're going to remember a face better than we remember
Yeah.
a name, right, by
Yeah.
itself. Just
Yep.
so that's one. Just focusing people and having that. Operational capability within your app, I think is amazing because, you're on the lookout for
Yeah.
the whales that you're there for.
Exactly.
The other thing is one of the company I was working for at Expo West, the CEO of that company, long time ago, I worked for another company with him,
Cool.
and we were looking for certain people from certain companies, and they gave me the names of the people, and I was
Yep.
doing magic in the
Yep.
booth,
Yep.
talking about the product, and I saw one of them come along, and I was able to do a custom trick for this person because I was prepared.
Yes. It's
So what
the
ended up
five P's.
happening is his whole name got magically printed on a card that
Yeah.
he was hanging on to that he picked, and it was just this thing that it freaked him out
Yeah.
because I was ready, and
Yep.
90% of magic is really preparation, really,
Mhm.
so that whole being ready and giving that, like, that you are ready to strike.
Yeah.
And when I say strike, I mean in a good
Completely.
way, like it just
No,
like you're ready
it's
to
great.
act and
Yeah.
take action. Yeah.
Well, it's the five P's. Prior proper planning prevents poor performance. And I hear a lot in the event space right now that everyone's really concerned about budget cuts and everything's more expensive and whatnot. Do the best with what you have. Don't
Yeah.
send a team there if they're not going to be fully prepared and know who they're focused on targeting. Or, we'll give you the prospects' cell phone numbers and the email addresses and the LinkedIn profiles. Send them a text.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm at Expo West. Did you make it? Would love to say hello in person. Like, we're trying to make it as easy as possible in the palm of their hands to start these conversations. And I am anti selling in like a cringy way. Like, I don't want them to be slimy and pitch them.
Mhm.
I want them to start a conversation. Like, you use the word engage a lot, and I love it. Like, have a conversation, be a friendly face, offer to serve. Like, there's ways to go about this that if a rep goes in prepared and knows that this is who I'm looking for, I'm going to send them a text, see if they're around. I know what they look like because I have the photo in the app. It's all in one spot. I have my notes from ahead of the show so we can help people do, like, we can use AI and a few different like data triangulation things to
Mhm.
help them have that warm intro as they're walking up. Like, if they know what they're doing, they're so much more likely to have that outcome turn into potential revenue than if they just walk up and say, like, who's in charge of purchasing? It's
Yeah.
never going to work.
So I'm on the receiving end of people approaching the booth
Yeah.
looking for certain people. Often they're looking for the marketing person or
Yep.
whatever. And one of my things that I'll do is they'll ask me, and often because I'm in a suit, a lot of the time they go,
Yep.
they think I'm important. And
Yep.
so they come up to me and they go, is so and so, head of trade
Yeah.
shows here? And I'll look over at them and I'll go, no. And then they look at me like, yeah, no, they're not here. Like we make it because we're
I know.
pretending they're not there, right?
I
We're
know.
just, even though I'm looking right at them. But here's the thing is that if you approach people before the show and you say, hey, is it okay if I stop by and say hi?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
you've pre-started the conversation,
Yes.
it suddenly is less about I stumbled upon your booth and I'm going to pitch you
Exactly.
into let's start a relationship, and it's so much more thoughtful,
Yeah. Or what about
right?
like, I saw your local Little League just went to the World Series. Like, how was that? It must have been so cool in your community. Like, there are always ways to create a story that will help you
Yeah.
stand out. But If you're talking to 50 or 100 people, you're not going to remember that research. So you have to
Yeah.
have a way to have it in your hand and triangulate everything and put the time in ahead. And so I think it's just a lot of work from the salespeople I've talked to. There's a few out there who are doing the
Yeah.
work and they're doing it well, and it's days and days and days. So we're just here to
Mm.
create some tools to try to make
Speed.
it a little easier.
Yeah. Speed to revenue. So tell me what companies does this work? You mentioned SaaS
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
What is your ICP? Because there might
Yeah,
be people
absolutely.
listening to this going, okay, Allison, sounds good,
Yeah.
but will it work for me? Right? That's
Yeah,
the classic, question
absolutely.
people ask. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I will say B2B is just anything within the B2B space. If you're going to show to target another business and you have a clear ICP, like you know who you want to target, we can help. What I
Yeah.
have trouble with is when people come to me without a clear visual of who they want to target or what value or differentiator they
Yeah.
have. Because I'm a tools person. I love tools. I'm creating tools to help you do things better, make it easier. I can't change product market fit. If you want to hire me to get into strategy about your ICP, that's my other hat. That's more my CMO, CRO hat. But if someone comes in with a clear, I know I'm trying to target brands who do this. I know I want to target, I had an AI company that I was working with. I know I want to target brands who have a director of research on staff, or I want to target companies that are using Qualtrics
Mhm.
and their title, they're between 200 and 500 employees. Those are the kind of things that if we can refine pretty quickly into that laser focus, then I can help. And
Yeah.
then Show Scout is really just meant to be the place that holds all the goodness that we're creating in that process.
Right.
And then if it's a little more complicated, if you're trying to target attendees, so maybe you're at Qualtrics seminar, okay, let's look at social signal monitoring. What are people posting? Is that an audience we can help you go after?
Mhm.
Can we just look at job titles and just reach out proactively and say, hey, are you going to be there? I'd love to say hello
Yeah.
in person. So I can help people with attendee lists, but it's not actual like the badge scan attendee list. I don't ever try to misrepresent that. I don't believe
Right.
anyone that's selling a true attendee list, it is not true. It's much more of a custom curation of tell me about your business, tell me where you're going, who are you targeting? And usually I can reverse engineer something that's going to be a 60 to 70% solution for a much, much cheaper price than
Mhm.
some of the list brokers. And it's accurate. I'm pulling the data in real time for every customer. It's not a here's last year's list that I
Yeah.
bought on the black market
Old
from
and
an
old and
exhibitor.
cold, right? Stale list. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's what's out there right now.
yeah,
Now, I'm going to ask a question a little bit about, how do you, not what do you charge for this, but how do
yeah,
you price this? Is it like, per salesperson,
yeah,
per event, per whatever,
yes,
per lead? I don't know.
yeah. No, we haven't gotten to per lead right now. So right now I have Show Scout up on the website as like a single show purchase is $500
Okay.
and it's unlimited users because I am super anti price gouging. I don't like the concept of it's an extra $100 per user. So we're just trying to keep it simple and start there. Sometimes people need a different install per rep. Like one rep needs a very laser focused list versus others. We're pretty flexible. We can usually figure that out. When it
Mhm.
gets more into the service offerings, the warming, the outreach, the post show stuff, that kind of becomes either a per show, like you just have one show you're trying to accelerate revenue on and you want to try. And then we do a package, and depending on what services, like do you want social amplification where we come in and help expand your reach on all the social channels, or do you want to focus just really on the badge scanning and outreach? So it varies. I have a la carte offerings for, I'm a huge startup small business fan. So I never want to be priced to a way where we're not accessible for people. So I have, you just want some help with outreach, that's $1,500. Like we can come in, we can help you do it. We're here to support. But if you want more of a kind of what I'm calling a revenue engine, where you're using trade shows as the vehicle that's starting your sales outbound, it's warming and nurturing your leads, that starts at $3,000 a month.
Mhm.
And we're going to be doing things like, visitor intent. And so if people that are in your prospecting list are coming to your website to look at information, we're going to let your sales team know. We're going to pull that into Show Scout so you know that they were on the site and looking at this case study. And so it really becomes that flywheel effort as you're going from show to show to show, that for a lot of brands that are trade show heavy, I think it basically becomes that insurance policy of not only are we doing pre and post show outreach like everybody should be, we have some signals that we're monitoring to make sure we're staying front of mind. We are boosting our messaging using what I like to call matched audience media, which is here's your prospect list that we worked hard to create. We're going to overlay consumer profile data so you can serve to them on whatever channel they happen to be on, Hulu streaming or Instagram. Really speak to the end user that you're targeting and help warm them up. And then when they're seeing you walk up to the booth, they've seen your face. They know who you are. They've had that interaction with you. And so you're building that familiarity. So the trade show isn't just a drop in. You tap someone on the shoulder and they're like, who are you? Be like, hey, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. I sent you a couple of messages. So wonderful to meet you in person. Like you're really just trying to create that authentic interactions. And so that's the dream state. Like I'm really hoping to create a platform that's more interactive, that allows people to have this like, let their sales and marketing engines build off the momentum from trade shows, like almost like trade show and event first, and then we're going to help catch everything and nurture and keep things moving along.
Instead of on, off for every show. Yeah. And I mean, that softening of the ground, and that sense of familiarity that you talked about, like when we turned on our Zoom cameras and popped in here, you were just talking about you've listened to the podcast.
Oh yeah,
completely. Look at my newsletter, and it's like, oh yeah, like you're so easy to talk to because you have background on me, and that kind of connection. It just breeds a better, the start of a relationship, kind of thing. So
and when you look at big event budgets in the grand scheme of it, and you look at the cost of BDRs nowadays and outsourced leads generation, and $3,000 a month investment to keep a omnipresent experience going to your exact buyers that will benefit for your products and services and get a better response rate than most tactics because you're tying it to trade shows. It's like, it's not that big of an investment in the grand scheme of it. And, we'll handle managing domains so that you can do the cold outbound and not worry about tainting. Because what I'm finding is when I set out to just do Show Scout, people don't have the internal resources and the tools to be able to leverage it to the best of their abilities, and they're just leaving money on the table. And so then it just kind of became, I really love marketing. I really love helping people. It really sincerely hurts my heart to see people go to shows and just have a bummer experience, because I have been a founder. I know what it looks like on the P&L when you have a flop, and it just, there's a better way. And so that's kind of the journey we're on.
That's a great place to end things, I think, Alison. Just show them a better way. So, how can people reach out to you? Where can
I'm on LinkedIn. Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. I believe it's Alison Joy French is my direct URL, and our website is joinlto.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I think we're gonna have to do this again sometime because it's.
Oh, I would love it.
It's like I get prepared. I got my questions, didn't touch them because we're just like. On to another thing. So we should do it again. Definitely.
Here to sincerely help. Like in my heart, I've done a lot of startups. I've led startups before, but this one's different. In my heart is here to help. It's a different purpose this time. And so if I can share, provide a bit of something to someone that helps them not have that icky pit in their stomach at the end of it, like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Awesome. That's that.
Well, it's so great to meet you.
What is it? The Japanese term, ikigai?
Yes.
Right? That sweet spot of everything, right? So
that's
awesome.
What I'm here for.
Well, thanks.
Stay in touch. One of these days, I'm going to come into a show where you are, so I can come say hello in person.
I'm sure it'll happen. And
I can't wait.
That'll be so neat to meet you in person, of course.
Yeah, it'd be fabulous.
Thank you also to all of our listeners for tuning in once again.
Yes.
And until next time, you know what to do. Stay engaged.
Thank you so much for listening to Engaging Personalities. If you believe this world needs more engagement and you're an industry leader or you have an interesting take on rehumanizing business, go to go.engagify.ai/podcast-guest to apply and come on the show. If you got something out of this interview, do you mind sharing it on your social media? Just grab a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show. Include the hashtag Engaging Personalities. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episode, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, engageify.ai, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and stay engaged.